What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the Hinderer knives XM-24. This particular one is in the sheep's foot blade pattern. This knife sports a 3.95-inch blade, so just under 4 inches. It weighs 7.7 ounces with the original OD Green G10 scale that comes with it. I did replace it with micarta, and it's actually 7.4 ounces with the micarta, 7.7 ounces with the G10. So the micarta actually drops 0.3 ounces. So not a bad deal as far as weight goes. Not a huge thing, but it is what it is. This knife prices at $595 US. That's a chunk of change and seems a little bit out of line, possibly, but at the end I kind of, after using this for a while, understood why. You know, when you just kind of size it up. So in terms of some comparison or alternative knives to this really big boy, you know, we have a handful of other big boys that really I thought of in terms of in use in hand, big slabs of titanium. The Spartan Harsey full-size folder, that's a 4-inch blade. That's also in the realm of $500, this particular one. Definitely one of those. The Andrew Demko knives 80-20, that's kind of a big boy, comes into there, certainly in terms of pocket. The ZT-0308, this zero tolerance, felt very similar in pocket, and also it has kind of that height up there. So that's definitely one of those that I think, you know, for me, was definitely in the alternative knife range that one might consider. And then I will go ahead and bring out a couple of other times, possibly the XM-18, which is the 3.5-inch blade, you know, similar factor, of course, in terms of the Hinderer knives in the XM line. It's just obviously much smaller. And so, like I said, that will come out a couple other times. But the knife for me that really felt the most like was the Freeman Outdoors 451. That it's definitely a huge hunk in the hand. It's got texturing all over the place on this knife, and so if you happen to get your hands on one of those, that's really kind of the knife that I felt, certainly in pocket, in hand, in grip, the one that for me was kind of the closest. And those are all these knives that I popped up are in that, you know, in excess of $400 range. Well, no, the ZT-0308 is $350 or so. So those are kind of some alternatives or, you know, comparison knives that one might consider. Let's jump right into the pros of this knife. This uses the tri-way pivot system, and as a result, it gives you the option of, and I don't normally talk about the tri-way because, you know, most people, if you're already into Hinderer knives, you know about it, but what they do provide with the tri-way is you have these, the ability to change out for phosphor bronze washers, Teflon, or they come with the bearings in them. I have swapped this one out, swapped the bearings out, and actually put in the phosphor bronze for a couple reasons. One is I was going to use this as kind of a user knife, and so I did kind of prefer that in there. I wouldn't get gunk in there, you know, for such a big knife. It is such a big blade that on the bearings, this thing just fell down like a guillotine, and I actually kind of preferred it to be a little bit more controlled with the washers, and so it gave me that capability. I will say it basically went to perfect centering when I did swap from bearings into the washer, so in that sense it's a great thing. It's just a very much more smooth return, and so for me I actually kind of liked it. Ouch. I won't do that too many more times, but so yeah, that you know, the tri-way is really useful on this one, for, like I said, a good couple reasons. I really think that's where this one does come into play, certainly more for me. This is also a top choice knife for really big hands. I have a medium large hand, and you can see that I have a lot left over. And if you move up to that front choil, which is that's one of, in fact, we'll talk about that. This full-size finger choil provides a lot more than the 3.5-inch does. With the XM-18, you get me into a little bit of a dangerous territory if you're not careful, and maybe you get the front side of your finger in there for utilizing that choil. The XM-24, I won't say you can go carelessly about it, but it definitely can kind of roll right up there and be in man with a lot of safe, you know, basically capabilities there to fit your hand in there. So going back to kind of that big hand thing, I had gloves around here somewhere. Oh, there's a glove. So yeah, as far as a big hand sort of thing, you know, in gloves, the deployment is fantastic. Being a frame lock, it's not the easiest to access to on the retraction back, but you can with inside gloves. But yeah, as far as gloves and in hand, oh yeah, this is perfect. So as a work knife, and I can move up to that front choil. I'm not going to be going up to the knuckle side there, but with just a little bit up there if I need to. Yeah, so for big hands, this one is fantastic and also really hard use. So that's definitely a great use case for this one. You get the same great modularity that you have with the XM-18. You can replace the scale. I obviously have on this one gone from the G10 to that. You can replace the the various hardware, the back spacers here, or the barrel spacers there. Your clip, all these things. So you have that same great modularity, and you can customize it and really make it your own. So in that sense, that's a great thing. I already talked about the front size finger choil, but really the last thing that ties into is the ergonomics of this thing. If you needed to go back and do chopping, I was obviously not going to in the front side montage actually going to baton with this, but I would feel confident actually in doing a little bit of chopping, move that hand all the way back. The ergonomics are really just fantastic in any position. The pull cut position is actually pretty comfortable, other than that little nub there. And we're going to talk about that. So a lot of great pros going for this, especially for large size hands. If you want a large user, fantastic. The thing cuts really well, obviously. On to the cons of this knife. I already kind of demonstrated one of them. These, beware of the false thumb studs. I mean, it's not false, but it is, I guess, a thumb stud. It's principally used more for really the stop pin back here against the frame. They're dual stop pins. But that really hurts, and I'm not going to be doing that anymore. Using that as a thumb stud is very painful. This one really is meant to be used as a flipper. Left-handed, don't even think about it, because the strength to overcome that detent with your hand or your thumb on there, oh God, it's painful and I think dangerous in a certain sense. You can do it. All right, one more. Ouch. That's definitely one of the negatives. The weight in pocket of this thing, at almost a half a pound, this thing's as heavy as a freaking copper PM2. So in that sense, it's, if you don't mind carrying a half a pound in your pocket with a wallet, knock yourself out. But for me as a carry, not the greatest. So that was kind of one of the things. And then the last thing really is probably my biggest gripe over this whole thing, which I never suffered with any of the other models. And that's this overly curvaceous and pointy flipper. If I were going to keep this as a user, I would definitely just ground that nub down the slightest bit. Oh my gosh, just the slightest bit, because it is, yeah, I know, dainty fingers have I, but it's just a little bit annoying, especially if you're sitting there watching a Netflix program for an hour or so, and you're flipping through this. You're trying to get a feel for what it would be doing it 100 times in an hour or so, something like that. Yeah, just a little bit sharp. So for me, that's kind of the biggest drawback. One of the things I'll say that was surprised me, not necessarily a pro or con, I guess a pro at the end, is that this backside jimping / texturing here, which my fingers hit on the XM-18, they don't hit here. And that's one good thing about this flipper being so big coming out. It's just too sharp there. But when you do flip out, you miss that. So your finger does not land on there and tear against that backside jimping. So I guess, yeah, that's a pro. I left it as a neutral for the most part because I don't think you should have to suffer that anyway. But if you're used to the XM-18 and used to getting your hands raked on or your finger raked on, you don't suffer that with this particular knife. So overall, what would I say about this knife? If you like Hinderers and you like big knives, man, there's not much better than this knife, truly. And I can't think of any that are better. They're customizable. You can do a lot of that stuff to it. Great Hinderer design. You have the tri-way pivot system, perfectly centered, whether you go from washer or from the bearings to the washer. So overall, you got premium materials here, 20 CV super steel. It really is going to come down. You're going to love it. You're going to hate it. For me, I really liked it as a user, but as a carry, didn't love it so much. So hope you did find this video of use. If you did, hit like and subscribe and have a great day. Take care now. What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the Hinderer knives XM-24. The one that I have here is the sheep's foot. Let's start that again.